There's a version of Tolkien that lives in writers' minds. He sits at his desk. He already knows everything. Middle-earth is fully formed. The maps, the languages, the wars that happened 3 ages before the story begins. He just writes it down. That version of Tolkien has stopped more novels from being written than any other single idea in fiction. And here's the thing, it's not true. Hi, I'm Andrea, the founder of Bibisco, the novel writing software downloaded by more than 200,000 writers around the world. And if you have ever felt like you couldn't start writing until the world was ready, the rules of magic, the political systems, maybe even a rough sketch of the geography, then this video is for you. Because the way Tolkien really worked is almost the opposite of what most writers believe. And that gap between the myth and the reality is exactly where most novels stop before they begin. By the end of this video, you will have a different way to think about that blank page and a concrete way to move past it. Let me tell you what actually happens. You have an idea, a word maybe, or just a feeling, a place, a character who hasn't fully arrived yet, and you sit down to write, but something pulls you back. Hard to name at first. It's not that you don't want to write, you do. It's more like a voice that says, not yet. You don't know enough yet. You think, I can't put them in this city until I know who built it. I can't write this scene until I know what the magic costs. So you open a document, start a new file, begin to plan. The plan grows. It becomes its own thing. And at some point, you are not sure exactly when, you stop being a writer working on a novel and become someone building a world that no one lives in yet. Weeks pass, sometimes months. The blank page is still blank. Here's what actually happened with Tolkien. In 1930, while grading student papers, he wrote a single line on an empty sheet. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. He didn't know what a hobbit was. He wrote it down anyway. Middle-earth didn't become before that line. It came because of it. What Tolkien actually did was closer to this. He kept notes wherever he could. Battered notebooks, loose pages, the margins of manuscripts he was already working on. Fragments of language, contradictions he never fully resolved, ideas that appeared and changed and appeared again in different form. The world grew around the writing, not before it. That's a different thing, a fundamentally different thing from what most writers believe he did. So why does the myth persist? And we read backwards from the result. We see the appendices, the maps, the depth of the second age, and we assume someone must have planned all that before chapter 1. The appendices, the languages, the mythology of the second age. None of that existed before Tolkien started writing. It grew because he kept going. What Tolkien actually needed and what he built across those battered notebooks and loose pages was a way to capture what he discovered. To hold the world as it grew, so he could move forward without losing what was already there. That was his real challenge. The world kept growing, and somewhere along the way, managing that growth became harder than writing the story itself. And the same thing happens to you. You are writing chapter 3. A village appears. You didn't plan it, but the story needed it. A road leads somewhere you haven't decided yet. You keep writing, the world expands. And then, a few chapters later, you stop. You need to remember something. What was the village called? What did you say about the road? Was it north or south of the city? You scroll back, you search, you reconstruct. That friction is small at first. You don't always notice it, but it accumulates. And at some point it starts to feel like the story itself is pushing back. At some point you realize it has nothing to do with how much you planned. The world has nowhere to live while you are building it. That's what keeps stopping you. Tolkien worked across scattered pages, battered notebooks, manuscripts that contradicted each other. Most writers today have something similar. Fragments in different documents, notes in apps that don't talk to each other, details they half remember and have to reconstruct. When your world doesn't have a home, you keep stopping to find pieces of it. If this is landing somewhere close to an experience you recognize, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps other writers find these conversations. Discovery writing doesn't happen because you decide to be more spontaneous. It happens when you have somewhere safe to put what you have discovered. The world growing alongside the story, not ahead of it. That's a condition. You can't force it, but you can create the right structure for it to occur. Bibisco is built around that structure, around the way a novel actually grows, not around files and folders, around the elements of your story, characters, location, chapters, notes. Each one has its own space, and they are all connected inside the same project. Let's say you are writing chapter 4. Your character arrives in a city you didn't plan. You wrote it because the story needed it. You stop and you come here, the locations section. You add the city, give it a name, a few lines about what it feels like when you walk in. Maybe a note about what it means to your protagonist at this point in the story. Then you close it and go back to the chapter. The next time that city appears 2 chapters later or 10, you don't scroll, you don't search, you open the location and everything you capture is there. The name, the feeling, the note you left yourself. The same works for characters, and for fantasy writers especially. There's something here that changes how you manage a complex world. You can organize characters into groups, the elven clans, the warring tribes, the noble houses. Each group has its own space, its history, its internal conflicts, its relationship to the other factions in the story. So when you're writing a scene where 2 factions meet for the first time, you are not trying to remember which character belongs to which side or what their story is. It's all here, organized the way your world is organized. And then there's this, the research and notes section. Every fragment that doesn't belong anywhere specific yet. A line of dialogue you want to use somewhere. A detail about the magic system you haven't placed yet. A question you are still asking yourself about the plot. It lives here, not in a separate document, not in a note you'll forget about. Here, inside the project. And if you think in connections rather than lists, there's a mind map tool. You can link characters to location, characters to objects, factions to places. You can see the shape of your world, not just the pieces. And when you are ready to write, the writing environment is clean. No sidebars fighting for your attention, just the scene and everything you have built one click away. The world grows with the story. That's the same movement Tolkien made across decades of notebooks and loose pages, just without the chaos. You don't need to know everything before you start. You need a place that holds what you find as you go. Writers who work this way tend to describe a specific shift. They move more. They hesitate less at the start of a session. They stay inside the story longer because they are not constantly climbing out of it, search for things they have lost. The world becomes something that accompanies the writing. That's a quieter thing than productivity, but it's more durable. So, if you want a novel writing software built around this way of thinking, download Bibisco. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.